you will be aware of this fact. That's why I'm giving a small introduction now. So, I'll go into it. This thing is explained there. Only few will be chosen. That basket means the church full of members of his family. So this is a plan of sheer goodness with which God has, and for that no one can object to. That's why only hearing this, the stewardess, mother of the church, who is the church, said, "That would indeed be a great situation, Lord, but on what basis will you choose those innumerable heirs and distribute your property to them?" That is of course great, she says, but on what basis will you choose is what she is asking. We need some explanation for such words like the question, "On what basis will you choose them?" represents an enquiry into God's plan of salvation. In other words, it symbolizes the question of how can people submit themselves to God's saving plan. This submitting oneself to God's righteousness, we can see in Romans 10 chapter 3rd verse, which says that to be chosen by God, we should submit ourselves to God's righteousness. That's what we see there. So, this thing only is what we are going to explain here in the form of a story, the allegory. We are going to explain only this, how it is righteousness only if you submit ourselves to God's righteousness, to the, the rights. The right mean the process, the steps or the procedure which God has created. The procedure which the wealthy man has created here in this parable is that whoever comes to his banquet, which banquet? A banquet where only a worthless food is given. The menu is very, very cheap menu. It is not a delicious menu. In spite of that, we should come. Then there will be other work and all for people. But they should leave that work for the sake of the wealthy man. Then only it would mean that they love this wealthy man more than all those other things for which they make excuses. So, if you make an excuse, it means that you are giving more importance to that excuse than to the inviter. So, it actually shows how much love I have for the inviter. Here the inviter is God. He invites us to join his family. To sit at the table means to join his family in heaven. So, if at all I want to sit with God in heaven, only those who are his children can sit with him at the table in heaven. So, if at all I want to become his child, then I should have more love for God than anything else in this world. Because God is going to choose only people who are of such type, who give importance to God. That is the way we honor God. See, read that to you further. That's what we see here. We are going to see in this thing how the submitting oneself to this holy mass or this new covenant will become righteous when compared to faith of other Christians. That is what we are going to see from this story. See, there are also people who seem to be holy. There are also people who believe in Jesus Christ. Then, in what way are we different from them to be adopted by God, or to have that eligibility to be adopted by God. This is what we are going to see from the story. Before that, we will find out some explanation for words in this sentence made by the steward. In this interpretation, it corresponds to the idea expressed in Romans 10 chapter 3rd verse, namely the need for people to submit themselves to God's righteousness rather than relying on their own. See? Here also you get a hint of what they are doing. The other Christian people, other people who belong to other Christian denominations. These people, they rely on their own righteousness. See, they create some sort of righteousness. One group says the righteousness is in believing Bible alone. Then the other fellow will say the righteousness is in having our sins cleansed or forgiven by God. As that and all, each one gives his own sort of righteousness. There are about or more than lakhs of Christian denominations in this world. So, from that we learn that there are about or more than lakhs of righteousness types in this world. More than lakh types of righteousness are there in this world. For each type of their own righteousness, each person starts his own denomination. That is what is happening here. They don't submit themselves to God's righteousness. In other words, they don't submit themselves to the Holy Church. They don't submit themselves to the Holy Mass and so on. So they create their own sort of righteousness and they rely on it. Thus the question seeks to understand the basis upon which individuals are brought into God's saving purpose and become participant in His plan. So that is this sentence made by the stewards. Now this reply, the wealthy man replied, the basis on which I intend to distribute it is this: I will look to see who honors me and I will distribute it to them. See, this is God's plan. He is seeing only whether we love Him. Your honor is a symbol, or it symbolizes love for God. Whoever loves God will be chosen.